Alright guys, more rounds with the Glock 45 and the Aimpoint COA. I've really been enjoying this thing, both daytime and night. Super clean dot, super easy to pick up. A lot of people have asked, is it easier to pick up because of how much lower it sits? It does sit in there nice and low, and you have a co-witnessed red dot with basically medium-sized iron sights. I wouldn't quite call these suppressor height, but they're not also quite stock size either, if that makes sense. But woohoo! Lights out, buddy. Oh, give me the bag. Up. Oh. All right, guys, so it's supposed to have the exact same window size as the Aimpoint P2. As you can tell, it's pretty dang close. So luckily our buddy Andrew here had that to bring out as well. As far as the size goes, very similar as well. But suppressor height sights versus dipped into that slide there, I think you're definitely going to tell a difference shooting it too. All right, buddy. Thanks for pointing that out. What's going on, everybody? Today we are talking about the brand new Glock and Aimpoint COA. This awesome looking optic right here in front of me. But before I dive into this, I want to take a second and thank Glock directly. They did send out this Glock 45 with this Aimpoint COA already mounted and gave us the opportunity to have 3 or 4 months with this thing and to give some solid rounds downrange and to give a review. So first time ever working with Glock on something like that, and I was truly honored to be picked to review one of these things. So a big shout out to them and a big thank you for giving us that chance. But this review is not going to be on the Glock 45. If you guys want to see how bad my reviews were in the beginning, go all the way back and look for the Glock 45 because that was one of the very first ones we did. I'm not going to tag it. I'm not going to give you any links, guys. It is super embarrassing, but go over there and make fun of me if you'd like. It was pretty rough. But the Glock 45 was good to go. That's not what this video is about. This video is about this brand new optic, guys. Aimpoint and Glock collabed on this optic, and right now the only way to get this optic is already mounted to a full gun. So I know there's talks about possibly being able to buy the optic, buy a slide and stuff like that in the future, but as of now you have to buy the entire setup to get you one of these Aimpoint COA setups. I do believe this is already coming in several different models. You have the slim line with the 43X and the 48. And then with this, you're going to have the 47, the 19, or the 45. So basically giving you the majority of those combinations that people would want. But that is the only way that you can get one of these optics right now. Before I made this video, I did check on RSR and nothing was in stock yet. I don't think they've been updated or uploaded to RSR's inventory yet. But I do know that there is a lot of people already watching these. But people have been getting them as well, not just influencers. I know several people were able to get them from gun stores here in town. So there are floating around. If you guys go out and look, check with your local FFL. There is a good chance that they could get one for you or that they might already have one. But the purpose of this COA, guys, is to get as close to co-witness with stock sights as possible. When you start looking up close, you can see that this optic is actually kind of dug into the slide. So it kind of like almost leans in and then sits flush, bringing this dot almost all the way down to a stock sight of co-witness. Now, in my personal opinion, it does look like these sights, the rear and the front sight, are slightly bigger than stock sight. Now, I want to say they're probably more of like a medium height sight. So, not to say that Glock cheated a little bit, but as they were bringing that optic and that dot lower into that slide, I want to say that they raised it up just a hair with the size of these iron sights. It does still sit really flat, guys. If this is not the most low-sitting optic, it is one of the most low-sitting optics out there, especially when it comes to Glock. So they've done a really good job of incorporating this into the slide and giving you that co-witness feel to it. You do have a system here to where when this optic sits inside the slide, the rear sight, I believe, is what's kind of officially holding everything locked in. I know you got some stuff going on underneath that we can't see, but this itself, you do have 2 screws that remove this rear sight, and it kind of looks like once you take that rear sight off, you would be able to just then kind of remove that optic at will. It almost would just kind of lean out. The optic is very close to the same size as the Acro. It is slightly smaller, and they say that this, this same optic is going to work on your slimline and your full-size pistol, so you don't have to go get a different optic for that. And it's not going to look super bulky when you do put it on a slimline gun. One of our buddies, Andrew, does have one of the 48s, and it looked really nice, and it worked really well on that setup too. It doesn't look like it has like sides sticking out to where they're like snaggable or anything like that. The size of the window in reference to the Acro is almost identical. We didn't get any tape measures out or anything like that, but to the naked eye, we'll say those windows looked almost exactly the same. So I would say that they've done a really good job of giving you that window area while also maintaining a smaller overall footprint of this optic itself. A lot of different settings on this, guys. You're going to have 12 different modes, with 8 of those being daytime and 4 of those being night vision. I loved the way this dot looked under nods. It was very clean, very crisp, and a lot of times in the daylight shooting, I have astigmatism, so no dot is perfect. I love when I go shoot night vision, it almost like corrects that problem. So that dot was very, very nice and crisp, and that alone was a big selling point to me, and the ability to get it down as low as I possibly wanted, even to the point to where it was almost invisible under nods. I mean, that #1 setting is almost non-existent at all, but sometimes you need that depending on what the situation is, right? I will say the Glock 45 and the Aimpoint is not a great setup for a night vision type of setup itself, because the flash, as you can see, was drowning out my optic quite often, and I was really having to trust that muscle memory and those point shoot skills to get my optic back in place, so that way it was close by the time that I could see the optic again. But that's not Aimpoint's fault. That is me trying to put it in a different situation than probably what it was prepared for. Now, if I was to go get a threaded barrel on this thing and put a suppressor on it, it would be a completely different story. My main setup when I do run nods is usually my M9A4. I throw a suppressor on that, and that has the Steiner MPS dot, and this reminded me a lot of that as far as how much I like that dot. So I would like to get another Aimpoint COA in the future, or one of these setups, and shoot it suppressed, just so I can get that full-on experience. I didn't have the time to do it with this 45, and I think as of now, since I do have the ability to get one at about the same price as what this one was offered to me, I'm probably going to go with a 19 or a 47. The 45 is a great setup, but it's not my personal preferred setup when it comes to carry, and so I think I'd go with that long slide 47 and that 19 size grip. But yeah, overall, guys, it did great. Never came loose. I have kept it on the moment I got it. I want to say, don't quote me on this, I'll look so that I can add it exactly in whenever I talk about this in the studio portion, but I want to say it was January when this thing was sent out to me. And since I got this, it's basically been about 4 months. So we have 4 months of carrying pretty much every day, shooting in multiple classes, at least 1 to 2 classes a month, and then leaving the battery on that entire time. So battery is good to go, optic is good to go, durability seems to be good to go. I did see somebody comment about the water intake. So if they submerged this, they said there was some water that got into their optic. Since I am not keeping this one, I'm not going to do that to Glock and Aimpoint. I would like to see more on that, and I will kind of like be following that guy's progress to see if that was just a one-up. But, that is something that you guys need to be concerned about. The whole purpose of having these closed emitters is to help you when it comes to moisture and wetness, especially in a heavy rain. I went from a Hollow Sun 508T to a Steiner MPS because of a rainy weekend shooting pistol. Like it was like an all-weekend class, and it just rained. And so to see how bad that made that optic, and it actually ended up ruining that optic, closed emitters seemed like a much better option to me when it comes to an actual duty, no liability, no risks, no chances type of option. And seeing that and somewhat being obtainable in price is always a plus. Some quick specs for you guys. This thing is made out of 7075 T6 aluminum. You're looking at a 3.5 millimeter dot, and this thing weighs just under 2 ounces. I think it's closer to like 1.75. The battery for this is going to be a CR2032, so it's one of those flat ones that you see in a lot of red dot optics and stuff out there on the market. And like we said before, this thing has 12 different settings when it comes to the brightness. The talks of the cost of this dot are around $600, but like we said, you could not get this without buying an entire setup right now. I don't know if that's something that's going to be available to everybody in the future, but as of now, you have to get one of the 5 options of the 43X, the 48, the 47, the 19, or the 45. Those are the only ones that I've seen, but it would be cool to see some more options come out, especially maybe even some more brands in the future too. If you guys are looking for one of these, go check with your local FFL. I do know several here have already had some of these, and people I know have been able to get them already. So that was pretty shocking to already see people have them in hand before places like RSR did and everything like that. But if you are looking, guys, a full-size type of setup or a non-slimline setup is probably going to run you about $1150. If you guys are looking for the slim line, it's going to be a little bit closer to about $1,000, I think. So not a horrible price. If you think about it, you're actually getting the Optic at full price and probably the gun at a little bit cheaper when you do the combination of that. So again, super sweet setup. What do you guys think? Have you guys had the opportunity to see the Aimpoint COA yet? Do you guys like this collab between Glock and Aimpoint? Do you want to see more of this stuff in the future? And if you had to choose, if you're not a Glock person, what do you want to see this Optic be on next? I know the idea itself was pretty awesome. Being able to bring that dot a lot lower to that co-witness point, I think, is something that everybody wants achieved out there. So good job, Aimpoint and Glock. You guys definitely have me a fan right now of this setup, and now I just got to wait for a good deal on a 47 or a 19 so I can have the ideal setup for me. But that's it from us, guys. I appreciate every single one of you. Hit that subscribe button, share it with your friends, y'all, and as always, stay alert, stay alive. And did you know we host classes here in East Tennessee? Rifle fundamentals, pistol fundamentals, and night vision introduction. We want you shooting, we want you training, and we want you building your circle. So why not come do that with us? Look us up, guys. Hit us up at thischannel@gmail.com. And until then, we'll see you on the range. That skinny one's real hard to see out there. But guys, that'll wrap it up. Glock, Aimpoint COA, pretty sweet setup. The Optic itself, as you can tell, pretty dang durable. Does not give us any issues. I have left this thing on since I have had it. I've carried it for about 3 months. I have shot it in classes, on the range, all sorts of fun stuff. Sprayed it with paint accidentally. So yeah, it's been through quite a lot. I did not want to completely scratch this thing up, so I'm not gonna do a whole lot more on the torture side of things, but as far as my opinion on the Glock and Aimpoint collab, the COA, it's good to go.